amid all the squawking out of D.C., all the talking politicians, one person's voice has not been heard. Paul Ryan has been very quiet about the fiscal cliff, but what does he think? How will he vote? Could be critical. Patrick O'Connor is down with us in D.C. I think you're actually on Capitol Hill today, Patrick. Why has Paul Ryan been so quiet on these budget negotiations?
Well, he's been quiet on just about everything since the election. He did a quick round of interviews with some news outlets back in Wisconsin, and he sat down with ABC News. Otherwise, he hasn't spoken to anyone. In fact, he used to be one of the more accessible members of Congress if you grabbed him in a hallway, and he no longer does hallway interviews. I think in part that's because they kind of want to maintain his stature as the Republican vice presidential nominee. Not a lot of members of Congress have that kind of cachet, and I think his office and the congressman himself wants to preserve that. On the other hand, this is a really difficult vote for him. The easy thing to do if he has White House ambitions for 2016 would probably be to vote against any package that comes to the floor, because that way, you're not going to antagonize the conservative activists who tend to make up a disproportionate swath in a Republican primary electorate. On the other hand, he's always been a team player, and I think he has been working fairly closely with the Speaker of the House as they come to the terms of a deal with the White House. And because of that, I think he's going to feel a lot of pull to support whatever the Speaker brings to the floor, unless it is just a step too far, in which case I think you're probably going to see a lot of conservative defections, which could be a real problem for John Boehner.
Wow. Now, yeah, I mean, he's a rising star in the party. I mean, he got the vice presidential nod, obviously. How critical is his vote? I mean, could he torpedo the whole thing just if he speaks out against it?
It's always hard to say how much sway one member has over any other, but, we obviously wrote it in the story, and I talked to a lot of members who have said, basically, his vote is the most important. If Boehner gets his endorsement, it's going to stem the conservative defections. If he's voting against it, it's going to be very easy for a lot of conservatives to point the finger at him and say, hey, if he's not with it, then I can't be either. He's running for president. I'm going to have a primary in 2 years. This is going to be a deadly vote for me. So I think the Speaker needs his support probably more than he needs anything else. And, by that turn, probably the president would need his support if they are going to bring this thing to the floor, unless they're expecting to bring a bunch of Democrats with them, which I think they will. But, the Speaker needs to get a majority of his majority. And I think the only way to do that is if Paul Ryan is on his side.
Wow. Now, you point out in your story that, yes, he has not been speaking. He hasn't been giving interviews in the hallways there. But he has been involved in the negotiations, right?
Yeah, so the Speaker very early on reached out to him even before the election was over to tell him, if you want to stay on at the Budget Committee, we'll give you a waiver. They have these 6-year term limits, and Ryan was butting up against one, so the Speaker waived that. He invited them to take place, and they have daily planning sessions whenever they're in Washington, and so Ryan has been a part of that. One of his top aides on the Budget Committee has been working fairly closely with Republican staff as they negotiate with the White House. So they have really been over backwards to try and involve him in the process. He signed his name to the only paper offer that's really been put out there, an offer that sought to raise $800 billion in tax revenue. The important thing to keep in mind, though, is that he was supportive of the Speaker's calls to raise tax revenue, but it is a much different thing to say he would support raising tax rates, just given that it's kind of been a principal component of Republican orthodoxy for at least the last 3 or 4 decades. And I think this is going to be a really tough vote for a lot of people to swallow, particularly Ryan.
Wow. All right, Patrick O'Connor down in D.C. Appreciate it. Thank you.